Welcome to Mental Wellness for Parents. I'm Ellen, and in today's session, we're exploring the intricate dance between youth mental health and conscious parenting. Before we dive in, I'd like to acknowledge anybody watching today with lived experience of mental health problems or anybody who is caring for a loved one on their recovery journey. A little bit about me. My path to this moment winds through education in counselling and psychology, and it's coupled with practical certifications in NLP, Myers-Briggs, tuning into teens, and mental health first aid training. My path's probably been profoundly enriched by being a mother of 4 beautiful school-aged boys. And a pivot in my story unfolded 2 years ago when my 9-year-old expressed his struggle with suicidal thoughts. But it did lead to a breakthrough in mental wellness that reshaped our whole life, and as a whole, our family unit is much stronger. I was fortunate that my son felt comfortable enough to confess and share his deepest, darkest with me, and I'm so grateful for that. But youth mental health can be a silent struggle, and many young people hesitate to seek help due to fear of judgment. So it's on us as parents to become detectives and piece together subtle cues and foster environments where our children feel safe to express themselves. Hands up, who's ever felt like this? 2 hands up and feet. And this mental health continuum is a brilliant visual and reminder that all individuals can fluctuate from sound mental health to poor mental health. The stress associated with significant life changes, like it could be experiencing a loss, a betrayal, for teens exam time. That's a very stressful situation. And the ability to recover from these events and bounce back to normal and sound mental health is very complex, but really it depends on our genetics, our environment, our personalities, our social network, and our general coping mechanisms. So the longer we stay in the red, the greater the risk is for us to experience a mental illness, which is why early intervention is key. Mental illness, by definition, is a diagnosable illness that causes major changes to thoughts, feelings, and behaviours. It impairs functioning and is persistent over time, which again is why the longer you're in the red, the more difficult it is to recover from. The most common mental illnesses are anxiety disorders, substance use disorders, and depressive disorders. Interestingly, 1 in 5 Australians experience signs of a mental illness in any given year, and 1 in 2 will not seek help. So let's explore some of the barriers as to why our youth won't put up their hand to get professional help. They may not realise that they need help. They may fear the worst. They may not know how. There's still so much stigma associated to mental health problems, and they don't want anybody thinking that they're crazy or not normal. They don't want their parents to worry. That is a big one. They may be concerned about the cost involved. They may be embarrassed. They may feel shame. So what does it look, sound, and feel like in our youth? So they may change their hygiene habits. They may stop caring so much about how they look. So they may stop showering, brushing their teeth, getting their hair done, doing their hair. Their language may change. So this is something to listen out for. I hate myself. I hate my life. I'm so dumb. I'm stupid. What's the point in anything? They may be very irritable and moody. They may sleep more or less. and they may lack motivation. They may look withdrawn. They may lose or gain weight. They may cancel last minute, and they may just seem stressed all the time. So that's what it might look like for a parent, and how it feels for our youth experiencing a mental health problem is completely different. Whilst us parents may think that we have a very lazy child, they may be struggling to get out the front door for a variety of reasons. So that's just something to consider. If they are showing signs of a mental health problem, what do you do? The first thing that you need to do is find a time and place and make time to talk somewhere private where nobody else can listen, and also make sure that you have freed yourself from commitments for the rest of the day or evening, because you just don't know how the conversation is going to unfold. The other thing that you need to do is just check in with yourself and consider your language, because what you want to do is you want to sort of build a case on your observations of their change in behaviour, so that they can't deny their change of behaviour. So let me demonstrate how the conversation may unfold, because the next thing is that you need to ask direct questions. So consider this. Hey buddy, I've noticed that soccer no longer gives you the spark it used to. And I've also noticed that you've seemed quite withdrawn. I just wanted to check in, see how you're feeling.
Yeah, well, my mates have turned against me. I'm failing at school, and I just can't see the point anymore.
Oh, gee, must be such a difficult time for you. Look, I want you to know that I love you and I care for you. And I want to ask, given that you're going through such a hard time, have you had any thoughts of suicide? And then hold the space for them to process exactly how they want to answer your question. Okay, so what not to say to them? Never let them know that you're going to keep it a secret. If they tell you the truth, you'll keep it a secret and you won't tell anybody, because if they do have thoughts of suicide, then you will absolutely need to tell people. You will probably need to tell a GP or a psychologist or psychiatrist or counsellor. You may even need to tell a guidance counsellor at school or their teacher. You also don't want to say things like, oh, but you've got a great life. You know, you're so good at maths. You could be a mathematician. That's really important, that you show more empathy than trying to be the fixer. And you don't want to say things like, you'll be right, just a bit of a bump in the road. Or it may elicit anger within you, because you might look at your child and see so much potential and think, oh, how could you be feeling like this? So you might end up saying things, you know, like, just sort yourself out and just get on with it. Okay, honestly, you've got nothing to worry about. And do not say, I understand, because right there and then, just by saying I understand means nothing to them. And in a way, it's a bit of a slap in the face. So what do you say? You know, it's fairly common to feel like you're feeling. And I know that support is available. You know, you don't need to do this alone. You know, you have a right to feel happy and joy every day of your life. You can also ask them if they've felt like this in the past, if anything helped, so that you can use this to support them today. Okay, so what is next? Well, if they say yes, they have had thoughts of suicide, then it's recommended that you ask how long they've been feeling like this, sort of if they've felt like this before. Probably the most important question that you want to ask though is if they have a plan on how or when or where they're planning on taking their own life. And if they answer that they do have a plan, then it's considered a mental health crisis. So you would need to stay with them until you seek professional help. If they say no, then it's not considered a mental health crisis. Although you are encouraged to reach out and tell them that they can recover from these strong feelings with the right support. And ask them if they'd like you to book an appointment with a GP and go with them. Sometimes us parents aren't the right people to have this conversation. So if that's the case, then it's always good to discuss it with a mentor, brother, or their brother or sister, or the other parent might be the better option. You know your child better than anybody, so it's up to you as to who has the conversation. So that wraps up our youth mental health, and I would encourage anybody with any questions regarding anything that I've gone over today to email me, ellen@yourmindreset.com. Thanks. So now we're delving into conscious parenting, which really was the approach that saved my child. It was his birthday last month and he turned around to me and he said, "Mum, I love my life." So that confirmed to me that this approach is effective and long-lasting. So what is conscious parenting? It is about becoming new parents who walk beside your teen or behind them, but you no longer lead them, and you watch them make mistakes, and you don't necessarily go and run over and clean it all up or fix their problems. It's about choosing and leaving our ego at the door and looking at the bigger picture. There is always a grey area and always a silver lining. So it's really being aware of where your anxiety is coming from in response to your expectation of them not being met. It's about choosing connection over correction. It's understanding that they are social beings. I know when I was a teen, I was constantly on the landline talking to my friends. If I wasn't with my friends, I was talking to them on the landline. And they may potentially become addicted to Snapchat. It's about understanding that when your teen displays attitude, self-righteousness and entitlement, that this is their uprising from years and years of us controlling and managing them. And this is nature. They're going to do it anyway, and you cannot fight nature. Really, it's about transforming from being their manager to being their consultant. And how do we do this? We do this through connection, through setting boundaries, and through building their skills. Is conscious parenting easy? Uh-uh. Absolutely not. Is it necessary? It absolutely is. If you're wanting to raise happy teens, resilient teens, and teens who are aware and self-aware of who they are, and also who understand that life isn't smooth sailing all the time, but they learn the tools because they're confident and they know who they are. They learn the tools on how to overcome those disappointments or loss. So I wanted to introduce my Teen Connection Bootcamp. It is 90 minutes of your time with me in a confidential mentoring session where we go over I teach you skills and we look at strategies that can combat screen addiction, disrespect, lying, motivation, and tantrums or emotional dysregulation. I teach you how to become their consultant. I teach you about adolescent emotional development and how emotion dismissive parenting can impact their self-esteem and confidence. I teach you how to respond to and sit with your teen's sadness, how to develop empathy and emotion coach your own child. I teach you how to coach your teen to manage their fears, anxiety, and anger, how to manage rejection and conflict, and of course, how to manage your own emotional self-care.